Okay, the third lesson to do a professional SWOT analysis is to identify opportunities and threats. Let's work on that. So again, following the same mindset of the first internal analysis, developing the external analysis, we follow a process. Which process? We use two techniques, PESTLE analysis, and the second technique, Porter 5 forces. What is the PESTLE analysis? The PESTLE analysis is just a checklist in which allow the person that is analyzing the company to understand the macro environment, considering some specific aspects of the macro environment. We talk about political, P, first P, economic, first E, social cultural, S, technological, T, environmental, E, and legal. We use each segment of that macro environment to evaluate factors that may help or hurt the company performance. So we are looking for the effects of those macro environment segments on the company performance. So the political segment centers on the role of government in shaping business. This segment includes elements such as tax policies, change on trade restrictions and tariffs, stability of the government, immigration policy. So there is several aspects that the government and the political power in a specific region may affect the business performance. On the economic side, we are talking about things such as inflation, unemployment, GDP, disposable income of the population of that region, and economic growth or decline of the economy. So those are things that we try to identify in the macro environment, and will be listed under the rubric of economic. In the social cultural aspects, we are looking for demographic information of the region. We are talking about cultural values of that region, and depending on the situation, you may have find things that help or hurt the business performance. Technological, and here we are trying to understand the level of technology available in that macro environment. You may have regions and you have a lot of in which the internet is available, broadly available for the population. But there are regions in which the internet is not broadly available. So that is an important factor to evaluate. What are the technologies available in the region? Even simple things like roads, highways, railways, and so any kind of infrastructure associated with the technology of that infrastructure to help or hurt the business. The E for environmental is when we assess the region to see the conditions of the physical and natural. Depending on those conditions, you may have situations in that the company can get some benefits or not, depending on the solution. So if you are in a region with a lot of natural disaster, hurricanes, earthquake, that's problematic. But, and if you have in a region with a lot of pollution, it's not a health environment to conduct business. So the E of environment is very important nowadays. And I think in the future as well will be one of the most important aspects of the PESTLE analysis. The legal system of the region is also critical. If you have a sound legal system in which people can trust the court decision, the judiciary is independent from the political power, and that usually give you some kind of trust and confidence on that region, and therefore it may help the company do business on that region. In other situation, if you have regions in which the court decisions are not predictable and are problematic, in those situations, like say, if you have a strong trademark, you have some copyright protection, but the court doesn't accept that, you cannot protect things, and therefore that is complicated and may affect the business performance. One thing that with my students, I always see that that's the major challenge and most of the mistakes that they made. When you do a PESTLE analysis, you have to consider the region that you are conducting that analysis, because the PESTLE analysis, the PESTEL, are different in any region in the world. And you have to understand where the company is operating. And when I say operating, consider where are the supplies, where the supplies come from. Where are the manufacturing plants? Where are the customers? And those are, you have to be very specific on the geographical location of the analysis. There is not such thing that you can just put, oh, bad economy. That doesn't work, because each country, each region inside a country, each city has different economic environment. And I can say the same for political, social, technological, environmental, and legal. So those are things that you have to consider. And that picture on the screens describe that. You have to understand a company is not isolated in one region. Nowadays, companies buy things from other countries and they sell things to other countries. So you have to map all the supply chain, the value chain of the company, and understand where they are located. And then perform the PESTLE analysis considering the facts of that location. Very important, very critical to have a good SWOT, good and professional SWOT analysis. Usually I ask my students to summarize the findings of a PESTLE analysis in a table like this. So they conduct a political, economic, social, technological, and legal and environmental analysis, and they try to identify factors that help the organization and facts that may hurt the organization. Again, always putting the geographical location where they found out that factor. That's very important, geographical location, okay? I'll be repeating that, geographical location, just 37 times. Geographical location, it's important. Geographical location is important for the PESTLE analysis. The second technique to assess the external analysis is the Porter's 5 forces. And here it's very famous, that all business books, they have that. So the 5 forces is analysis to understand how profitable is the market. And here we are dealing with the market. And when we say the industry, are companies that are serving the same, fulfilling the same needs of a customer. So here, when you talk about cars, we are talking about cars manufacturing, and that is an industry. When you talk about the grocery store, that is an industry because those companies fulfill the same needs of the customers. And so that's very important to delimitate the industry and understand first. And so let's go in each one of the 5 forces and understand them. Rivalry among competitors. Those are the companies that offering similar products and services. And because the competitors in that industry is trying to serve the same group of clients, the rivalry may become intense, depend on some factors, such as if you have several competitors with the similar size and power, so the rivalry is very high. If the competitors are not differentiated, they are offering the same products without differentiation, that indicates a high rivalry. And there is other like capital requirements. If in that industry required a lot of capital requirements, and in which the fixed cost is high, that also means that you have to sell because you have to cover your fixed cost, and that push the rivalry up. The same thing when you talk about economy scales. If an industry has needs to produce a lot to make money, to have some profit, that's complicated. And here we have, I mentioned before, car manufacturing is a industry with the rivalry among competitors very high. The airline industry is another one, and because they follow the same, they match the same criteria. Large number of competitors of equal or similar size and power. Sometimes they cannot differentiate among themselves. They need a lot of capital requirements to prepare the manufacturing plants or to buy planes and place in the airport. Economy scale, they have to sell a lot to make profit. So those are type of industry where there is a lot of rivalry. If the rivalry is strong, the profitability tends to decrease. Okay, and that is important. Buyer, the power of the clients. If the buyers has several, can buy products from several companies, it's good for them because they can switch from one company to another. If the buyers has just one company to buy from, that's complicated because they have to accept the price of that company. So the leverage of power between buyers and the companies that are selling the products is very important. So if you have very few buyers and lots of companies selling products, those few buyers have a lot of power. But on the contrary, if you have a lot of buyers and few companies, so the buyers have to accept the prices of the company, and that's complicated. And so there are several aspects here that you can see, like the industry products are standard. There is no differentiation, so the buyers can switch from one product to another without any problem. And those are things that you have to consider to understand the balance power between buyers and the companies. We can apply the same reasoning in the supplier side. If you have several suppliers, the company can purchase things cheaper because they can choose among several suppliers. But if you have just one supplier, the company are forced to accept the price of that supplier. If they are forced to accept the price of that supplier, sometimes they have to reduce the profit margin, and that's affect the profitability. One example that I have in mind here is about processors for computers. We have two major companies for personal computers. We have two major companies that manufacture processors. That's AMD and Intel. And that's problematic, okay? That's problematic because Intel can push the price and the personal computer manufacturer has to accept that because they have very few options of suppliers. Threat of new entrants are company that if it is easier for companies that offer the same product, and here it's important to keep that in mind, the same product of the competing firms in the industry, same products, if it's easy to enter in the market. In some cases, it is easy to enter the market. Some cases, it's very difficult. Some cases, the government protects some markets, like telecommunication. Most of the company protect the telecommunication market. It's not easy you to open a telecom company in a country because there is some regulatory barriers that protect that. There are other things that may affect the protection or not. But let's say if you are open a delivery pizza place, a pizza place to deliver pizza in your neighborhood, there is no barrier for new entrants in that industry. And that's problematic because if a pizza place start making money in a certain neighborhood and someone, that guy is making money in that neighborhood, let's open a pizza place there as well. There is nothing that can make that for that new company, not that can bury or make difficult for that company to operate in that market. And so we are looking the profitability of industry depending if you have barriers for new entrants. If the company that are operating in the industry are somehow protect from new competitor. For new competitor, will increase the number of competitors, and it will increase the rivalry among competitors. So if you need to compete with economy of scale, you have to sell a lot. And here we can say in the beverage industry, if you are selling beer, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, you have to sell a lot. So it's difficult for a new entrant goes to that business. Capital requirement, you have to have a huge manufacturing plant, huge supply chain. That's make difficult for a new company to join the market. And this access to distribution channels. So that is also complicated. Like say, if you have like a beverage industry, beer, it's difficult you to access the distribution channel like grocery stores. All the grocery stores, you may get one or two, but not all of them. And you are be competing with companies that can sell a lot in a low price, and always that is a barrier for new entrants. The fifth force is substitute products. And here, pay attention. Lots of my students make confusion between substitute product and new entrant. Substitute products are products that fulfill the same need, but they are different in nature. When we see that the airline companies are losing market because now people can participate in meetings via web browsers or some web conferencing tools. We are talking about two things, airlines and web conferencing tools, that are completely different in nature. We are not talking about a new airline, okay? I'm talking about something that uses a different technology, a different nature. So please don't make confusion between substitute product and threat of new entrants. I have some exams in my classes in which people put as a substitute product Pepsi Cola to Coca-Cola. That is not a substitute product. Pepsi is not a substitute product, according to the 5 force model of Michael Porter. That's not a substitute product. Actually, they are competitors in the same industry. Even if you think about a new entrant in the beverage industry, we are talking about the same type of product. Okay, the same type of product. Okay, that's very important to fulfill the same needs with a different nature, different technology. For each factor of the 5 forces, we have to understand the balance of power. If that force is stronger or weaker than the firms competing in the market, the balance of power will affect the performance, or like I like to say in a simple word, will help the performance or will hurt the performance. So how? And here are the most important equation to understand the 5 force model of Michael Porter. Profit equal price minus cost. That is the 5 force is about that simple equation. It's about that simple equation. If you understand that equation, you will understand the 5 force. And let's see how. Let's take an example here. We have the 5 forces, and we have all of them are very strong forces. You like say, threat of a new entrant is strong, so it's easy to get in the market. Threat of a new substitute, there is a lot of substitute product that can replace the traditional product with fulfilling the needs of the client. The buyers have a lot of power because they have options. The rivalry is strong. There is a lot of company competing for the same buyers. If those forces are strong, what's happened? The companies are forced to reduce price. And if they reduce price, they have to, it will reduce the profits. It will reduce the profit. I put like they are burning the profit. That industry is burning profit because there is not enough power. If you think about power of suppliers, if the suppliers are strong, the suppliers can increase the price of the supplies, and therefore they increase the cost. If they increase the cost, of course, it reduces the profit. And again, every time that you have a configuration like Jace, don't make business in that industry. It's not a good idea, okay? Of course, not all the industry has a so damaging image like this. Of course, you have, depend on the industry, you have one will be high, another one will be low, another one will be high. But that's the extreme of a bad industry. Industry with a very low profit potential. And on the contrary, you may have industries that are very profitable. When there is no new entrants, the threat of new entrants is weak. The threat of substitute is weak. There is buyers don't have much power. And so, and the rivalry within the industry is weak. So if you are a company operating in that industry, you can increase your price. You can increase your price. And that makes you can, if you increase price, you increase profits. The same thing if you think about weaker suppliers. You have several suppliers, so you are in a position of leverage against your suppliers. So you can force them to reduce the prices, the costs. And if you can reduce costs, you increase profit. That is the best industry to make money. Okay, so the five forces is a very clear model to help people understand if that industry is profitable, it's easy to make money in that industry, or not. Again, when you're doing that, I always ask my students to summarize the findings of the five force analysis into a very simple table. You have five lines, one line for each force, and you'll try to understand situations that help the company make profits, or situations that can hurt the company or may hurt the profits of a company. And you list that here. So green column, help, has a positive impact. Red, hurt the company. If you do that and use those two techniques, the PESTLE analysis and the five force, you'll be listing several factors that help the company performance. Those are classified in SWOT analysis as opportunities. All of the SWOT comes from opportunity. If from these two external analysis, PESTLE and five force, you identify things that may hurt the company, those are considered threats. And threats are in the SWOT diagram. Again, it is an analytical process. Don't go direct to opportunities. Use techniques such as PESTLE analysis and five force to get to the conclusion that you have opportunities and threats. So, and that's because it's the third lesson. It's always a process. We never go direct to the SWOT diagram. We start in the internal analysis doing the value chain analysis and the resource-based view to understand the strengths and weakness. Then we go for the external analysis. We go for the PESTLE analysis and the Porter's five force. And there we understand opportunities and threats. And then we build the SWOT, very famous diagram. Not at the beginning. Don't go direct to the diagram. Again, don't go direct to the diagram. Go first to value chain analysis. Go first to resource-based view analysis. Go first to the PESTLE analysis. Go first to Porter five force analysis. That's the way of doing a professional SWOT analysis. If you don't do that, it's not professional, it's a guess. And that's not good. Important, and again, it's very important to define the geographical scope and the product scope. You have to understand the geographic scope and the industry. Companies that are fulfilling similar needs of customers. Geographic scope, places in which the company operates, in which the company has suppliers, production plants, distribution network, and sales. Okay? Because in those geographical locations, you have specific political, economic, social, technological, environmental, a legal aspect, and specific competitors. Specific competitors. Product scope. The firm is competing with product offers in markets that fulfill similar customer needs and wants. So, and that should be considering when you're doing a professional SWOT analysis. Vague terms like bad economy, high unemployment does not help to design good strategies. Does not help to design good strategies. You have to have very specific geographic location and product scope. Again, don't go direct to the diagram. Perform value chain analysis first, resource-based view first, PESTLE analysis first, quarter 5 force first. Then, from that analysis, you'll be getting understanding what's help, what's hurt the company, what's help if it's internal is a strength, if internal things that doesn't help, it's a weakness. The same thing for the external. If things that help the company are called opportunities, and things that help hurt the company performance is called threat. That is a professional SWOT analysis. Okay, that is a professional SWOT analysis. That you'll be able from there to design and elaborate strategies to increase the company's performance, to put the company in a better competitive position.